Hi, I see we've passed the 2 p.m. mark. If I can get a guide from the organisers when I should start. Can everybody hear me okay?
Okay, Edrick, I think you can start.
Excellent. I'm just getting a feel for the floor. Got a few people. I think people are progressively coming in. I can even see some colleagues join us. Excellent. Okay, to maximise the time, I'll just get started. We'll see as people come in. As a very brief introduction, my name is Edrick. You can call me Ed. I'm the Technology and Operations Lead in UOB for our digital initiatives across our retail banking franchises across ASEAN. Now, some of you might be thinking it's a bit of an oxymoron for a bank with over 80 years in existence talking on the topic of startups and fintechs. But what I wanted to do is to share with you today our journey in terms of being an enduring startup and how we've actually gone through our journey of bringing together financial services and technology. Now, I've only got a few slides because I prefer to have these as interactive discussions, but hopefully this can help guide some of the discussion a little bit later. Okay, so for those who don't know about UOB, we're a bank established actually 85 years ago. We have a footprint across ASEAN markets. We have over 25,000 employees and growing. So that's just a little bit of context. Now, more importantly, I wanted to share with you a little bit around our strategy, our vision, and our journey. So our vision in terms of our digital strategy is to be the world's most engaging digital bank. And I'll share with you some stories around our journey and what we've delivered there. How do we do that? We hold three key things or tenets in terms of what it means to be the most engaging bank. It's to be for customers to be simple, to be transparent, and of course to be engaging. The key enabler of this also is our regional platform. And that's where, if I look at the ingredients of success, it really comes down to our people, our ways of working, and the platform that underlies that, which I want to share with you a little bit in each of the areas. Okay, before we go there, while we're talking on the topic of startup, it's been a journey. If you look at the whole digital transformation, I mean, even if you go back into time in terms of when internet banking started, and we started that journey in the 2000s. Then, particularly with the newer technologies and with apps becoming prevalent, we then extended that into our mobile app strategy and our roadmap. Importantly, a few years back in 2017, as a group, we acknowledged in terms of the opportunities and also the challenge that digital transformation was making for banks. So we embarked on a company-wide digital transformation program, and that's actually when I joined. So I've been here nearly 5 years, and through that journey, very proud from drawing up the first concepts to actually launching a digital bank. We have launched 2 major digital bank propositions in 2 markets, being Thailand and Indonesia. That's not to say that's been the only things that UOB has done in terms of digital bank or banking. We've continually built out our capabilities across our other markets, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and even China. And hopefully the people who might have seen some of the recent press releases and our most recent launch in our Singapore market of our UOB Tomorrow app or platform, which brings together all the investments and the experiences that we've garnered over the years into our Singapore flagship market, providing a unified digital platform. And this is something that is a continuum that we are rolling out continually across all of our ASEAN markets. Now, if I go to talk about the ingredients or the secret sauce in terms of this journey. First and foremost, I'd like to start with our people. The first key tenet is around being integrated and cross-functional. One thing that you can't have a digital transformation strategy sit alone or a silo within the bank. It has to be embedded across everything from the front office to the back office. Also importantly is to bring together all of the teams that need to come together to really deliver that digital proposition to customers, whether they be from the business, technology, marketing, operations, risk, all functions. And then one of the beauties about being a regional bank is actually bringing together the experiences across our respective markets. And this is where I think some people can fall foul of thinking there's one universal thing called being regional. It's actually a collective of the different flavors of operating in different markets and understanding the nuances in terms of each of the countries, whether it be regulations, but more importantly around culture. The next part is around diversity in our people. Through this journey, and I can give you multiple examples, is that we have people coming from not just banking backgrounds, but non-banking, whether it be FMCG, whether it be pure tech. On the other side is that, of course, we have a lot of tech and tech engineers and architects, but also people from diverse backgrounds, there's marketing agencies, investor relations, etc. And then also a key part in terms of scaling our digital agenda is that it's a combination of both our own staff, but importantly our partners. And this is where I guess the theme in terms of partner fintechs comes to the forefront in terms of our digital strategy. Now, if I go on to the second ingredient of success, which is our ways of working. And I think that the term agile is most probably overused, so I'll try to use it a little bit less. We see it as building your own unique DNA in terms of ways of working to really extract the value in terms of excelling in digital. First, it starts with a mindset or an ethos, which is around innovation progressiveness. And that's actually something that is a base in terms of our UOB values, where the concept of enterprising from the people that started the bank is all about the continual innovation, starting with the customer and then looking at banking in different ways. Second one, called culture. And this one is a tough one in terms of, banks are large organizations and complex organizations, is to be able to build a united teams which break down the silos. And also there are many new roles that this whole digital journey has created, new role titles, new role types. And I see the key of that is to be able to get people not only to understand their own roles, but how they fit in the broader ecosystem of roles that bring things together end to end. Lastly, and definitely not least, and I would say this is something that is continually evolving. We have this thing which we term as a playbook, which brings together and harnesses all of the learnings, the processes in terms of our digital agenda, and allows us to scale that as we bring on board and we scale up our organizations and we scale up our partners. And this is not just about a playbook of trying to explain agile or Scrum or just build. It's everything from coming up with the concept, the idea, and going all the way through to building that, and importantly, running and evolving it. And this doesn't stand still. Regularly throughout the year, we actually look back at this playbook and say, well, what's worked, what hasn't worked? The whole concept of retro, which is something I encourage everyone in terms of, that's where the whole continual improvement and refinement comes, is through those retrospectives. Now, the third ingredient is around, And the platform is actually a very broad term. I'll break it down to two parts though. Of course, technology, okay? There are insurmountable new technologies available, and this allows us to scale and to actually look at speed. Not only speed, but importantly around how we can find new ways to protect and to secure with these emerging technologies. So we leverage a whole suite of modern technologies. One of the foundations of that, of course, is how we've architected our digital platforms around services or microservices, how we've leveraged different infrastructure plays in terms of cloud, hybrids, private clouds to scale. Now, it's not just about the new stuff. One of the benefits that we had before starting the digital transformation agenda is that we had spent many years standardizing our core, or people call it the backend systems. So bringing those two together in an integrated fashion is something that really allows us to work in a regional context. Now, while we're on the topic of fintechs, we do partner when we integrate with a whole raft of fintech solutions. Many of you have seen in terms of the press around our engagement partnerships with firms like Personetics, our transaction insights through firms like Maniga, and even extending to not just doing those kind of partnerships, but also even doing joint ventures. And we actually even created a subsidiary of the bank called Avitech in order to look at this area around credit tech, which is a major area happening at the moment. Also, in order to scale, is one of the tenets is our ability to just look at standardizing the technology, standardize and localize. And that's really a way in which we can ensure that as we rapidly roll out and enhance across markets, we do that so that one country can leverage on another. Common code bases are foundations of that in the technology space. Now, it's not just all about technology, is that I want to talk about also the platform being the operations that surround the technology. And this is something that is key in terms of not only defining what the technology will do, but how it will operate in terms of process. So one of those tenets is that designing for zero ops. Now, that's not always possible, but starting with that mindset allows us to think about new ways in which to design both technology and processes. Secondly, as I mentioned, not everything is around a customer self-serving, and that's something that we've learned through looking at the customer journeys, is that the reality is that customers move between the self-service and the assisted worlds. And the key around that is to making sure those journeys are seamless, integrated, and contextual. And to do that, also similar to our technology frameworks, we do look at standardizing and also localizing. And a key one is around policies and processes. I would say that's one of the areas that actually took quite a lot of the time in our digital journey. Now, I was spot on 15 minutes. That was my target to get the content out of the way. Given this is a lounge and a discussion forum, I really open it up to those people here to ask questions. Any question? You can ask me anything. People have got. Anyone? I actually see some people coming through also. And just sorry, if you're interested in terms of joining the journey with UOB, we are hiring, and we're hiring a lot. So I've just added our QR code to our recruitment areas. If you're interested to look at the kind of roles that we have. And it's very broad across all functions I mentioned, is that we are scaling up our organization. Everything from in the technology area, from project management, squad leads, tribe leads, developers, engineers, architects, testers, across the whole spectrum. And from a business perspective, product owners, marketing specialists, data and analytical specialists also.
Hey Ed, maybe I'll kick it off. It's Arvid here. Just maybe want to see if you could describe the ideal candidate that UOB is looking for. It may be a bit of a broad question, but can you just describe a little bit about generally what kind of people UOB is looking for and is looking to attract as well?
Yeah, I would say, and this is in no particular order, but when people ask me in terms of that question, I would say, in first and foremost, is that people who are flexible. Okay, and what I mean by that is that given we're a growing organization, is that the roles or the tasks that you might be doing on a day-to-day basis can flux quite a bit, and that's actually we see as a great thing in terms of our organization, is to be able to straddle multiple sort of initiatives and roles at the same time. So I would say one, flexible. I'd say secondly, from a mindset perspective, and it goes to some of the comments I made earlier, is really to have that customer mindset. It's saying, it's most probably overused term, because I think people we've seen can get caught up in terms of the technicalities. So those people that really come with that passion around the customer experience and the journey, regardless of the role that you sit in, usually are the ones that really shine in the organization. Thirdly, getting a little bit more functional here, is that people who have, I always say, is some of the best people that I've worked with and have worked for me are the ones that can bring together process and content. And what I mean by that, process is in terms of how you do things, okay? So you can be a great, sort of engineer, a developer with skill sets. You can be a great project manager in terms of managing milestones, looking at dependencies, bringing together teams. I would say that those are process traits. Combining that importantly with content is really important. So having an opinion, having a view, coming with your own experiences around your story, around the content that you have, which might be a customer insight, it might be a technology insight, it might be from parts of projects, experiences that you've had in your career. So yeah, those would be the few things I would say in terms of the quality traits.
Thanks, Ed.
Anyone else? I see that quite a few people more have joined. Sorry. Okay, it's a bit of a quiet crowd.
Hi, Ed.
Hello.
I'm Ivan. I have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding fintech, right? Like, it's a growing industry. So I'm just wondering, like, what should we be expecting if we were to join the fintech industry? Yeah, like, what are the opportunities as well as some of the skill sets that are required? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, fintech, is such a broad term now. That's why even the story which I've just shared with you is that, I mean, the coming together of financial services technology, it's not something new. But I think that what's really exciting is what you can now do. If I come back to some of those opportunity sets, I would say one, for example, would be, I mean, banks is essentially a risk balance sheet business. If you look at financial services, the whole concept of credit is being disrupted, and you can see all the new innovations around buy now, pay laters. I think that credit would be one thematic to really keep an eye on, because what we can do with credit, how you scale that, how you make decisions, and how you can create seamless experiences I think is a very big thematic. I think secondly, and it's linked to that, most probably at the top of the tree here, is the whole opportunity that data and then the analytical technologies and methodologies that are available now, the ability to target, and we use in our strategy this whole concept of hyper-personalization, is that, creating those really unique experiences for customers. That's number two. If I put a third one on it, I would say that the whole ecosystem piece is a very big trend here. I mean, it's clear that those that are closest to the customer are the ones that really own the customer experience. And some could argue that financial services can become a bit of a commodity in that kind of context. So what you'll see, and is already happening, is a lot more partnerships with big consumer-facing ecosystems with the combination of fintechs and associated banks.
All right, thanks a lot.
No worries. Good question. Hey, we have time for more. Did anyone want me to elaborate on any of the areas that I've gone through? Just to recap around the people side, the ways of working, or the platform side of things. No? Well, also I do remind people, if you're interested in this journey, I have put up the QR code, is that I'm more than happy to so I think there's a lot of opportunities going on within UOB, and also, related to that is a lot of work that we do with some of the startup fintechs across the region.
Hi, Ed. Actually, I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is coding like a necessary skill in terms of like joining fintech, for example? Yeah, because like so many people are saying that coding is like one of the must-have nowadays. Yeah. Yeah.
My view, and also from my experience, is that no, it's not a must-have, but it is a good to have. And I'll even share with you my experiences that, and I came from a chemical engineering background, sort of fell into banking and financial services. I mean, one of the things that I did first, which has really helped me in my career, is that I actually taught myself coding, even from Visual Basic. It's not to mean that I'm most probably the worst coder you can think of, but it allowed me to understand how things are built. Okay, so while I say not must have, it's definitely a good trait to have, but it can be a very deep one in terms of, if you want to be a coder, then you have to go deep. But if you want to work in the space, I do encourage to learn about coding. And even on top of that, one of the areas I learned early on in my career is how technology architecture works in terms of things like service-oriented architecture, infrastructure components, APIs, and integration. That, I would say, is much probably even more important, is that there's a lot of buzzwords that you'll hear. Some of them, admittedly, some of them people make up what they think it is. But if you can research and do some projects and find some opportunities where you really get hands-on in understanding how technology architecture fits together, particular things like microservices, APIs, infrastructure platforms, cloud, non-cloud, blockchain. That I really encourage that having that knowledge is very important.
All right, thanks for sharing.
No problems. Thank you for the question. Anyone else? More than happy to give people career advice too. There's a lot going on in terms of this area. Well, Ivan, you're going to have to help me out with a third question.
You mean the skill set question?
Yeah, look, I mean, hopefully what I said, resonates, is that I would say choose what interests you. I think that some people fall into the trap of just doing things because they think it's the latest catchphrase, or to your question around, people feel it's a prerequisite. My view is that, and it's a bit motherhood, is that there's so much content out there and things you can learn or do, is that take a step back and first think about, what are you passionate about? What interests you? It could be a technology, it could be, how partnerships works, how retail ecosystems work. It could be even, we have people in our organization who are even like behavioral scientists, as to, that really look at what are customers really thinking, particularly given the whole changing world that we're working in. Okay. Okay, I think we've got 1 minute left, so maybe just as a, do a recap and a reminder. So look, I hope you all enjoy the whole FinTech Festival. We have quite a few sessions from my colleagues at UOB where you can find out more around our strategy, particular things that we're doing around hyper-personalization. You hear a term called adaptive banking in terms of our strategy and what we've done and what we're doing. What I've gone through today is really to give you a taste in terms of our journey, which is a continuous journey. And I do encourage anyone that might be interested in working for UOB, is that I'll keep up the QR code for anyone that's interested. And this will be, I think, be up throughout the FinTech Festival. Okay, well, with no further ado, I won't keep you any longer. With 2:30 on the mark, I thank everyone for joining for the session, and yeah, have a great week ahead.